Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. This is our 21st annual Jefferson County Legislative Indoor Barbecue. However, once again, we're putting the safety of our community at the forefront this evening, and we've made the difficult decision, as you know, to go virtual. However, we're pleased so many of you have joined us this evening. My name is Scott Shields, and I have the privilege and honor to serve as the CEO of Family Tree. We're happy to host this event along with our partners at Developmental Disabilities Resource Center, also known as DDRC, Jefferson Center, and Seniors Resource Center. Each of our agencies grew up right here in Jefferson County, and we've been serving this community for over a combined 200 years. DDRC, Family Tree, Jefferson Center, and Seniors Resource Center assist thousands of individuals and families each year throughout the county. Our services are available to all who need them, and we work to promote opportunities and inclusion for those with developmental disabilities, survivors of domestic violence, child abuse and neglect, and homelessness, and those who have mental health and substance use disorder needs, and people 60 and older looking to remain engaged in our community and living independently in their own homes. 21 years ago, our organizations realized the importance of bringing the voices and needs of our community to the attention of our legislators. We came together to make that happen, and each year since, we've invited Jefferson County incumbents and candidates to come to meet. Each year we've invited Jefferson County incumbents and candidates to come together and meet our constituents, traditionally in person, to hear our concerns and address the audience. This has become an opportunity that many look forward to, and tonight, as always, we appreciate everyone's willingness to make time in their busy schedules to participate. Even though we're not able to be together in person, we appreciate that technology allows us to come together and continue this tradition of connecting with our officials and candidates and hearing from them regarding issues that impact our communities. So that we may hear from each speaker, the audience will remain muted through the evening. We request that you put any comments into the chat feature. Before you hear from our candidates and elected officials, however, you'll hear from each of the respective organizations. And then after that, we'll go into 2 minutes for each of our candidates and elected officials. To get started this evening, we ask that you all please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. And even though you're in your home or at work and you may be muted, we invite you to please recite the Pledge of Allegiance along with all of us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And as I mentioned, now you'll have an opportunity to hear from each of these vital organizations who work hand in hand with their dedicated and professional teams to deliver the vital programs and services that make a difference in the lives of people right here in Jefferson County. Our 4 organizations each take turns as the lead host for this annual event, and this year it's Family Tree's turn. And with that honor, I will lead off, after which you'll hear from Kiara Kunzler with Jefferson Center, then Rob De Herrera with DDRC, and finally Chris Len with Seniors Resource Center. Family Tree partners with all people to prevent and overcome the interconnected issues of child abuse, domestic violence, and homelessness, to promote safety, healing, and stability across generations. That's our purpose and our mission, and for 45 years, Family Tree has focused these efforts to benefit and improve Jefferson County and the entire metro region. Our programs have been vitally important since the beginning of our existence. However, due to factors in our community today, the demand for services is considerable. With valid concern, it will be growing in the coming months and years. I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the Family Tree team for their unwavering dedication and resilience, for helping to meet that surge in demand, for focusing on what matters most and the importance of building relationships with people and delivering services on an individualized basis. They continue to believe everyone deserves the opportunity to create better lives for themselves. We do what we do and have the impact we have because of them, and we will continue to make important investments into this extraordinary team. And this extraordinary team last year provided face-to-face services to nearly 5,000 people. Here are a quick few highlights of that impact. 82% of people in Family Tree's domestic violence programs indicated the organization helped them improve and enhance their safety. 88% of households exiting Family Tree's homelessness program were in safe and stable housing at that time. And in one Family Tree program designed to intervene and stabilize adolescents and their families, 97% of these children remained safely in their homes 12 months after exiting the program. While navigating the ongoing, challenging, and ever-changing environment of the past 20 months or so, we have also managed to continue to move forward. Family Tree, a formative partner in the Porchlight Family Justice Center, celebrated with the community when Porchlight opened its doors in February of this year. Additionally, Family Tree has taken significant and critical steps forward to enhance and improve our culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion, with continued work on the horizon to help ensure our actions and approaches are not furthering systemic inequities in our community. And recognizing it's critically important to continue to use our expertise to leverage the development of new affordable housing, later this month, we'll be launching a decisive initiative right here in Jefferson County to do just that. On behalf of the Family Tree team, the board of directors, and the people we serve, I want to thank our elected officials and candidates who took the time to be here with us tonight and to address the important issues that affect our county and our region. And also, I want to express a sincere appreciation to Jefferson County Human Services and our county commissioners for your long-standing support and partnership of Family Tree and your investment in our community. I also want to thank our Legislative BBQ partners again, DDRC, Jefferson Center, and Seniors Resource Center, and recognize our shared value of making the community a better place for everyone. And lastly, as you may be able to see from my Zoom background, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This should serve as a reminder of the grit and determination of domestic violence survivors in our community and everywhere as they take that arduous step of putting their safety and putting the safety of themselves and their loved ones at the forefront of their actions and decisions. Please join Family Tree on October 21st and wear purple in recognition of this month, as well as on October 27th for our How to Help workshop, a guide for friends and family with loved ones in an abusive relationship. More information is available on both of those events on our website, www.thefamilytree.org. Thank you again for joining us tonight. And now I'll turn it over to my colleague and friend, Kara Kunzler, President and CEO of Jefferson Center.
Thank you so much, Scott. As Scott said, I'm Kiara Kunzler. I'm the CEO at Jefferson Center. And if you're not familiar with Jefferson Center, we're a nonprofit community-focused mental health and substance use treatment provider. And we've served the communities of Jefferson, Clear Creek, and Gilpin counties for more than 60 years. Scott, I love that combined number that you pulled together. We're so grateful to be part of this incredible group of dedicated partners in Jefferson County, who all come together to find ways to support the well-being and the social needs of the community. And there is not a time greater than now to focus on meeting those needs. Most of us never would have imagined that we would be virtual for yet another year of this event due to the prolonged pandemic. This pandemic has continued to place strains on our mental well-being. Today, 50% of Americans are struggling with anxiety or depression. This national statistic holds true here in our own communities as well, and that's really staggering. Social isolation is becoming its own pandemic. Housing is top of mind issue for so many people, causing additional stress. We're in the middle of a reckoning around racial justice and equity in our society, including in behavioral health care, which impacts the way that our communities of color and those who have been institutionally marginalized are able to access care. And moreover, for those with pre-existing mental health disorders are struggling more than ever before. In the past, some people might have believed that mental health was only a concern for those with severe mental illnesses, but today the reality is that everyone will face difficult situations that challenge their mental health. This global made that very apparent, and I'm grateful for the growing awareness and the support of behavioral health and how central it is to our overall health and well-being. Every day, Jefferson Center really tries to rise and meet these challenges by providing mental health care, substance use treatment, connections to community resources, including housing and benefits, with programs designed for veterans, children's families, victims of trauma, our aging adults, and many others. This year has been really pivotal for Jefferson Center, as it has been for all of us across the globe. We provided mental health, substance use, and prevention services to 28,000 people, and we reached an additional 30,000 people through our Colorado Spirit program, webinars, town halls, suicide prevention, mental health first aid, CIT trainings, helping kids thrive, and emergency crisis response. As an organization, we're focused on increasing flexibility in the ways that people receive care and really supporting our staff in doing this important work, as well as expanding our services across the community-based partnerships and to underserved communities. I'm so proud to say that in 2021, 92% of our clients received care in their preferred modality. So that means whether it's video or phone or in person, people were able to receive the care where they were comfortable doing so. We launched telehealth kiosks for clients to access care real time from 10 community-based locations. And that's in addition to our services that we continue to provide in over 120 community-based locations, including in partnerships with schools, in primary care, nursing care facilities, shelters, resource center, and partnership with law enforcement. We've expanded services even during these challenging times through the innovative community-based partnerships, things like Porchlight Family Justice Center, which Scott mentioned, C3 for those involved in criminal justice system, the LEAD program with our Lakewood Police Department, new co-responder positions, and we were also awarded funding for a new permanent supportive housing development, and just this week opened our substance use residential recovery center. Our work to make progress towards actualizing diversity, equity, and inclusion for our community and our staff has been critical to the work that we've done over the past several years. And this year we implemented new training for our staff, new services to our communities, and policies that really help solidify the work that we're doing in this area. Like many of us, workforce has been a critical challenge, and ensuring that there are enough behavioral health providers to meet the growing need. We're committed to supporting our teams who have worked tirelessly on the front lines of this pandemic. We're so grateful for them and the work that they do. Your vote and your advocacy matters on issues affecting housing and equity and behavioral health care, and educating yourself on those issues that matter to you is an important step. So I really am grateful for you all being here tonight. And thank you so incredibly much to our elected officials, our community partners, who all come together to support our communities and across the state. So on behalf of Jefferson Center, all of our clients, our board, our staff, we appreciate you all and all that you do to help carry the message that mental health and substance use services are a vital part of health in our community. So thank you for listening. And now I'm pleased to introduce Rob De Herrera with DDRC.
Thank you, Kiara. Hello, my name is Rob De Herrera, and I'm the Executive Director of Developmental Disabilities Resource Center. It's so nice to be with the great Jeffco community this evening. We can feel the virtual energy. DDRC is proud to be a co-sponsor and organizer of this event and worked with so many of you throughout the year. The mission of DDRC is to create opportunities for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families participate fully in the community. Community inclusion has not always been an option for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but we're changing that. Today, they are our neighbors, our classmates, our coworkers, and our employees. DDRC is the community center board serving Jefferson County. We serve approximately 4,400 children and adults according to their choice and needs, from intermittent support and intensive care, and often over a lifetime. Over the course of a year, we provide hundreds of thousands of hours of care and services. Our impacts include both big and small miracles, such as helping a child learn to talk or walk, helping someone find and keep a fulfilling job, finding a successful residential option, providing desperately needed respite for caregivers, or offering behavioral support so individuals and families are successful in the community. It's truly amazing work. Our service coordinators and case managers help connecting people to services and community resources and funding. Our direct services include early intervention therapies, behavioral services, in-home supports, a variety of day program options, employment and residential alternatives, therapeutic learning and recreation, and general assistance in daily life. These supports are provided not only through state and Medicaid dollars, but also through local funding, donation, grants, and volunteers. We are proud of our work keeping services in place during COVID with prudent measures, telehealth, virtual services, and diligent attention to our residential settings, and a gradual and careful reopening of our day programs. DDRC's priority has been making sure people are safe. I want to acknowledge the resiliency of the people we serve, DDRC staff, and our board of directors for their leadership. This has been a challenging year for all of us, and we appreciate the work of our county officials, our legislators, and we look forward to working again on initiatives such as ending the long waiting list for residential services. We are all now faced with a new set of challenges, including some of the most competitive and challenging workforce shortages many of us have ever seen, evolving mandates, service delivery redesign, and constrained funding. The partnership we have with our city, county, and state representatives is vital to all we do, and the collaboration we have with other nonprofits, businesses, and governmental agencies allows us to help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have access to the same services and opportunities we all rely on for health, wellness, and enjoyment. These key decision makers here tonight shape laws, regulations, policies, and funding that support our services. Thanks so much for your support. And now let's turn it over to my colleague, Chris Lynn, President and CEO of Seniors Resource Center. Thank you very much.
Rob, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see such a great turnout tonight. It's so important that you're all here, and it's quite a privilege to work with all of these folks you've heard from and their respective organizations, as well as so many others in Jefferson County that make such a difference. So thank you for being here. Let me give you a little information about Seniors Resource Center. For over 40 years, SRC has served the community with holistic services tailored to the needs of each individual client that we serve. We seek to help older adults stay safely in their homes for as long as possible through a variety of resources for older adults and their caregivers, including respite care, support for the caregivers, wellness programs, nutritional support, and educational resources about health and aging. For older adults, we also provide help around the home with hygiene assistance, homemaking and meal preparation, chores and deep cleaning, and safety, along with companionship and respite visits. Through our day center, we also provide opportunities for older adults to stay engaged in community in an environment that their caregivers know is safe and supportive. Seniors Resource Center is here to provide caregivers the respite and breaks that they need to tackle one of the biggest challenges, which is taking care of themselves. More than 40% of informal caregivers reporting having 2 or more chronic diseases, with a staggering 50% suffering from some type of depression. Taking care of themselves is not a luxury, it's a necessity. we're excited that we're preparing to welcome our guests back to our on-site services in our adult day in Wheat Ridge. The pandemic forced us to change all of that quickly. And we knew that offsite services we still needed to provide during the COVID time. So we opened our adult day location in Wheat Ridge over 10 years ago. It's a hub for our unique day program for older adults and a welcoming place of respite and support for their courageous caregivers. While the adult day has been a wonderful and functional space, the years of constant use and repurposing for our COVID emergency food program for the last almost 2 years have taken their toll. The facility there needed a refresh before we welcomed our guests back this fall. So we undertook a vigorous process to get it ready for our guests to come back on November 1st, and it looks beautiful. And so we're really excited to welcome them back and also to give the sense of their home caregivers the peace that they are welcome back and that they have some time back for themselves as well. So again, we have continued to provide numerous services during the pandemic and serving not only the Jefferson County community here, but also the mountain communities of Jefferson County as well. All of our in-home care, chores care up there as well. So if you'd like to know more about some of the exciting things that we're doing, including the reopening of our day center, tune in tonight to 9 News at both 9 and 10. We're so happy that Seniors Resource Center is the featured nonprofit being highlighted by Next with Kyle Clark, his Word of Thanks campaign. So we're grateful. So hopefully you can have a chance to tune in after this evening. So again, thank you so much for being here, and I hope you enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Rob and Kara, and thank you all for your partnership, and especially for this evening and this event. We encourage everyone to visit our websites and reach out to each of our organizations to learn more about the important work we all do. So here's a little bit about how our evening is going to proceed. We've developed questions that address the challenges in interrelated areas of importance to the people served by our organizations and have invited the elected officials and candidates to address them. The questions have been distributed randomly, and speakers will have 2 minutes to respond, and you will be timed. After each speaker answers the question, as their time allows, they may choose to address the missions of our nonprofit organizations or other priorities they wish to share with the audience. Just one quick note for the school board candidates, the same question was provided to candidates running in the same district. So each opponent will respond to the same question. During this evening, we also will hear from Colorado Governor Jared Polis, who will give brief remarks about the importance of this event as it relates to the needs of the community and our government addressing these issues. Again, the audience will be on mute, but if you have any questions or issues with technology, please use the chat feature and we will do our best to address those as appropriately as possible. These legislative barbecues have become popular because we've always had a chance to get together and gather as a community. And the virtual platform allows us all to get a sense of who's attending and who's joining us tonight. So we're going to try to do a little option here to show who's in the room tonight, and we're going to conduct a quick poll. So please take a few seconds to answer the questions that pop up on your screen. This will be a great way to see who all is here with us tonight. All right, we still got a few people weighing in here, but it looks like in aggregate, the 45 to 60 age range is taking the lead with nearly 50% of our audience tonight, followed by those over the age of 60. And we're seeing that Lakewood is looks like is the leader in terms of the geographic region where people live. followed by Arvada and Littleton. So thank you all for taking a moment to participate in the poll. Hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of a snapshot of who's here. But again, we appreciate everyone for weighing in. Although we're not coming together tonight to share a meal as we usually do, our organizations felt it was important to still support our local Jeffco businesses. We'll be drawing winners for gift certificates from some of Jeffco's finest barbecue restaurants this evening, and Family Tree will kick off the first drawing for two $50 gift certificates from Brothers Barbecue in Lakewood, with multiple locations throughout the Denver metro area. And tonight, the winners of the Brothers Barbecue gift certificates are Terry Holstrom and Mickey Cause. Congratulations to you both. We will be sending those gift cards to the name and address you provided to us when you registered. So enjoy your $50 gift card at Brothers Barbecue location here soon. Okay, we're now going to begin to get into the core of our evening together, and we're going to hear from our elected officials. So thank you again to all of our elected officials and candidates who are here with us tonight. We're going to start with our state senators. We will start this evening with Senator Brittany Pettersen. Senator Pettersen, the question that has been posed to you is concerning mental health. And that question is, how will you help those with complex needs who have additional barriers or limited resources that make it challenging to connect to care, will have access to appropriate and timely mental health and substance use services? Senator Pettersen, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. It is great to be with you today. It seems like this is not a random question for me. As you all know, I'm chairing the Behavioral Health Transformational Task Force, and we are specifically, this question really encompasses everything that we're doing. I'm out of breath because, of course, I was called on as I was moving around rooms, so bear with me for a minute. But we are going to be focusing on really making sure that there is a coordinated system. As many of you know, my mom struggled with a substance use disorder, and I was appalled when I had to try to navigate the system to try to get her the care that she needed and the lack of access. The care coordination piece has been a very important goal of mine my entire career, but we've never had the money until now. So with the American Rescue Plan dollars, I'm overseeing as the chair $450 million of how we are going to utilize this to better our behavioral health system. And so a big focus of mine, my number one priority, is a coordinated system, making sure that we have one place where you can go and you can see what is available for beds. You have one number to call, you have trained professionals who are helping you navigate the system. And of course, making sure that we're addressing the workforce shortage and gaps across Colorado for critical investments for facilities that are needed. This is something that has affected all of us in our lives. And unfortunately, Coloradans have been, in the last year and a half, we have seen a skyrocket in overdose deaths. And unfortunately, we have a very high suicide rate. So because I have very little time left, please reach out if you haven't already. This has been a really extensive process. We have not decided where these dollars are going to go specifically yet. This is one area that we've been focusing on, but I'd love to hear from you. Any additional ideas are welcome, and I just really appreciate the work that you do, and it's good to see everybody virtually.
Thank you so much, Senator Pettersen. I know that 2 minutes goes quickly. Appreciate your compliance with our time limits. And now to Senator Rachel Zenzinger. Senator Zenzinger, your question concerns housing, and specifically, how would you use your office to address housing, specifically access to housing, including various types of arrangements and affordability? Senator Zenzinger.
Great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. So the issue of housing, more specifically housing affordability, is pretty complex and increasingly pressing in Colorado. There was a poll that was conducted last summer from Magellan Strategies that talked about how the majority of people in Colorado think that they live in an unaffordable housing situation and that Colorado has a real problem. Also, and here's the key point, they want the government to step in and intervene to solve this problem. Now, we all need an affordable place to call home, but as Colorado's housing costs continue to climb, wages have largely remained stagnant, and longtime residents, including many seniors, are being forced out of their homes. And sadly, COVID-19 has only compounded this situation. So some of my most meaningful pieces of legislation have centered on affordable housing, such as bills to secure more tax credits for affordable housing, establishing grants for low-income seniors to cover property tax and rent and heating costs, and then also creating the Attainable Housing Investment Fund to help families with financing and purchasing a home. But unfortunately, my efforts and those of my colleagues down at the Capitol have barely scratched the surface in addressing the problem. And that's why I was really pleased to be appointed to the Affordable Housing Transformational Task Force. This task force, which has been meeting during this legislative interim, will make a series of recommendations on policies that we hope will create transformational change in the area of housing. And we hope to use the money that we've received from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act to address the housing crisis that we have here in Colorado. While our work is ongoing, I am pleased to be able to represent our area of Jefferson County on that task force and to bring to the forefront the concerns of the senior community, the disabled community, individuals who are unhoused, and families that are experiencing a behavioral health or domestic violence situation. Your stories and your perspectives with regard to housing are critical insights that I treasure, and I will continue to lean upon those as this task force addresses our work this interim. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Zenzinger. Appreciate you being here with us this evening. And now it's my honor, I believe, to introduce Colorado Governor Jared Polis. Governor Polis, if you are in our Zoom meeting here, we would like to turn over the floor to you for a few minutes. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you to all of our friends in Jefferson County. It's great to see some of our Jefferson County leaders here that are featured here. And I was a barbecue, so I hope somebody's cooking something for me because I'm hungry. Thank you to all of our Jeffco leaders, Representative Daugherty, Senator Zenzinger, who I see, Representative Pettersen, Representative Titone, Representative Larson. We work with those folks down in the ledge, and of course your terrific commissioners, Dahlkemper, Kerr, and Kraft-Tharpe. We had a very productive meeting recently on ARPA funds, and we'll get into that a little bit. I think we're also joined by Clerk and Recorder George Stern and Anna Cannon in the corner, and DA Alexis King, and several of our school board members from Jefferson County, and we appreciate their work as well. Really, there's no question that this last year has been characterized by the impacts of COVID. I want to commend Jefferson County Health and the county itself for the great measures that you've taken to help protect the people of Jefferson County, including having a very good vaccination rate, and as a result, a lower incidence of disease than some other areas of our state, and of course, other areas of our country. I also want to thank the Developmental Disabilities Resource Center, Family Tree, Jefferson Center, Seniors Resource Center, so many other great community organizations that are providing critical services, come and pandemic come or go, meeting people's needs. Statewide, we're at about 70% of eligible Coloradans that have received one dose of the vaccine. I'm proud to say that Jefferson County is over 80.5%, so several points ahead of the state. And I also want to commend Jefferson County Superintendent Tracy Dorland for doing a great job with safe in-person education. Thank you, Tracy. I really appreciate your strong advocacy for in-person education and really implementing strong measures to keep our kids safe and their parents safe. Now, of course, while we haven't completely dispensed with the health aspects of the pandemic, we're also focused on the economic recovery. And during the 2021 legislative session, with the help of many of our legislators on the line, we successfully planned for the allocation of the $3.8 billion in the American Recovery Act funds. About a third of the funds were already appropriated last session, And now there's interim committees working on much of the rest, many of whom are here today, including Senator Pettersen, Senator Zenzinger, who are working hard to allocate the rest, especially in areas of behavioral health and housing, which are concerns in Jefferson County and concerns in nearly every part of our state, which is why they rise to the state level. And as we best think about utilizing the remaining funds, we're really excited to think about how to innovate and how to leverage with local government, with the private sector. We want to partner with local governments, partner with philanthropy, partner with the private sector to really create housing, behavioral health, workforce-focused projects across the state. And that was really the focus of a very successful meeting we had with your commissioners about a week or 10 days ago. There's a lot of projects that we could be funding with state dollars, but we believe that if state partners partner with local governments, as well as nonprofit, philanthropic, private sector, we can get a lot more bang for our buck on transformational change around meeting people where they are with their mental health needs and about housing in our great state. Just imagine what we can do together. And I hope that all of us on this call really ask, how can the state, local, philanthropic, private sector community work together to really make a major difference for our state with the utilization of these one-time funds. I'm proud of the work that we've done so far to get Colorado back in its feet, but the next few months are critical to plan for this once-in-a-generation opportunity to make a transformational investment to meet people's behavioral health needs and to make housing more affordable in our state. Just as fighting this virus takes all of us working together, so too will our economic recovery. We're well on our way. I'm invigorated and excited about what the future holds. You know, these last 18 months have changed us all in ways we can't yet recognize. First and foremost, our hearts go out to the families and friends and loved ones of the 7,500 Coloradans who are no longer with us because of the deadly virus, including 2 of my dear friends. Of course, we also know those who suffer loss of income, who faced housing insecurity, who fought for weeks or months in a hospital and are now better, but still struggling every day to regain their health with long COVID. But we know that by working together, of course, getting folks vaccinated and moving on, we have the opportunity to really transform our community and our state. And I want to thank everyone on this call in Jefferson County for your invaluable role in moving the state forward. Your leadership and commitment is what makes Colorado one of the best places to live and work. And next year, I look forward to enjoying your barbecue.
Thank you so much, Governor Polis. We appreciate you being here and your busy schedule, and for your leadership and for your recognition of the strong partnerships and services that exist here in Jefferson County. We look forward to seeing you in person next year. And now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Kiara Kunzler with Jefferson Center, and we'll hear from our state House representatives. Kiara, please take it away.
Excellent, thank you. Well, we will get back to a couple of drawings for barbecue, but before we do that, we have another poll for you all. As we mentioned earlier, coming together to educate, broaden your awareness on these important topics. The other piece of advocating is getting that vote out. And there could be a lot of confusion around registering to vote, but that's one of the most important first steps in making sure that you can exercise that right. So our second poll of the evening, we would like to know, are you registered to vote? Yes, no, or maybe? This is looking good so far. Excellent. Well, that is great to hear. I know sometimes we have a few that are finding the system and registration process complicated, but we don't seem to have that here. So wonderful to see. So let's move along to our barbecue gift card drawings. So these are 2 additional gift cards to Moe's Original Barbecue, and the winners are Pat Duran and Lene Flora. Congratulations. So once again, your gift card will be mailed to the name and address that you provided when you registered. So now we will move into our State House, and we have some questions for our representatives. Close out the poll. All right, and first we have Representative Cutter. Representative Cutter, you have a question related to transportation. How will you use your role to help bolster the funding for public transportation infrastructure, multimodal, or other innovative approaches as access is critical to those that we serve?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with y'all virtually tonight. It's really an honor to serve this community. And I've worked directly with several of you, but all of you you should know that all of you have touched my life or that of a loved one, of one of my loved ones in one way or another. So thank you for that. So regarding this question, I'll begin by saying just how proud I am to have been part of a legislative body that was able to break a decades-long stalemate on transportation infrastructure. As a lifelong resident of Colorado, and most of it right here in Jeffco, I've witnessed firsthand how our transportation challenges have increased dramatically over the past several years. Senate Bill 260 dedicated, which we passed last year, dedicated $5.3 billion in funding over the next decade. And it was generated from a mix of state, federal, and user-generated fee revenue, spreading this impact in a really fair and sustainable way. By creating a really broad coalition of stakeholders and including everyone at the table, Democrats, Republicans, and dozens of impacted stakeholders, we were able to pass this massive transportation package that will improve multimodal options, meet Colorado's climate goals, and ensure that the long-term viability of the state's transportation system. This legislation will make sure that Colorado remains competitive, and serves so many people, and I was really thrilled to be able to support that. In addition, we also passed funding for $30 million in shovel-ready transportation projects in municipalities across the state. So that's going to help Coloradans get back to work and also simultaneously improve local transportation infrastructure for everyone, for all of our residents and communities. And I'll just close by saying that while transportation isn't one of the issues I particularly focus on, I ran for office to help people. And because of that, I prioritize work on helping anyone in any way possible. So that means anyone disadvantaged by our system. So my door is always open to people and organizations experiencing those kinds of challenges. And I'll make sure that your voice is at the table if it's not already. So I'll continue to look for opportunities to support things that are going to benefit all of our communities here in Jeffco.
Thank you so much, Representative Cutter.
Thank you.
And now Representative Daugherty. We have a question for you regarding employment. So we know that given the context of COVID, the last 6 to 12 months have been unique. And however, historically, many of the people that we serve want and need care. How will you help address the challenges, transportation, training, childcare, need for flexibility that they face and work with employers to help open doors for them? Representative Daugherty. Looks like we may not have her yet, so let's move on. Who do we have next? Wonderful. Representative Duran. We have a health question for you, a behavioral health question. How will you help those with complex needs who have additional barriers or limited resources that make it challenging to connect to care so that they have access to appropriate, timely mental health and youth services?
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for having me here, and congratulations again to the Senior Resource Center that's here in Wheat Ridge, in my hood as I call it. So I think Senator Pettersen brought up the task force that she is chairing, which is so important. And I think part of that process and having those conversations and a one-stop place to go to access those resources is really trying to remove the stigma. We know that a stigma around mental health has been there for decades. And I think the more that we talk about it, like we're talking right now, like we're talking about it in the legislature and all our advocates are talking about it, it removes that barrier so that people are willing to open up and to kind of reach out for the help they need. The two things I wanted to mention were two bills that we passed this session that I think is extremely important to be aware of. One is Senate Bill 137, mental health and substance abuse treatment programs. They'll get about $114 million to boost from this measure, with nearly 100 million of it coming from the pool of federal stimulus dollars, which I think is really important to know. The legislation includes about 20 million for youth crisis beds and other youth intervention programs, which we know reaching out to our youth is so important, not just during this pandemic, but anything else that might be going on in their life. The other House bill I wanted to mention was House Bill 1258. So every Coloradan 18 and younger will have free access to mental health screenings and up to 3 visits with a mental health professional under this measure aimed at helping kids cope with long-term impacts of the coronavirus pandemic, which we know has impacted all of us in so many different ways. And I think it's especially important with our youth, once again, to make sure that they know that there's a support system out there for them, there's resources they can go to, but most importantly, let's talk about it. Share with someone, share your story with someone so that you don't feel alone and you can get the help that you need. So thank you again for the opportunity. If anyone has any other questions or wants to reach out on domestic violence issues, as most of you know that I do run, please reach out to me. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Representative Duran. Okay, I think up next we're going to Representative Titone. So the question we have for you is also about transportation. How will you use your role to help bolster the funding for public transportation infrastructure, multimodal or other innovative approaches, as access is critical for those that we serve?
All right. I think I'm on. I don't see myself. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, there's so many folks who use the services of these wonderful organizations use public transportation. And public transportation has been really hit hard by the pandemic. And there's a shortage of drivers and there's loss of confidence in drivers because of fear of getting COVID riding the bus or the train. These are really difficult issues to solve, especially the driver issues, because there's a shortage of drivers everywhere. Traffic has been getting worse. Air quality has been compounded by that. We've had some of the worst air quality in the world this summer. And it's not just the smoke, it's the ozone, which is a completely different problem, a problem we can solve. But over the last several years, we've made many attempts to get voters to approve funding. And we finally did pass Senate Bill 260. Representative Cutter did describe that. And we have to see how this new funding mechanism pans out and give that a chance to get moving. But we do need to leverage federal funds and spend them in the right places, especially focusing on the multimodal options, because we need to get the folks without cars to their jobs. We need to get people to their appointments. We need to get people around who don't have those abilities to do it. I'm actually working on a multimodal project in West Arvada using the Amtrak line as a station, and that's something I've been working on last to try to get up. But we need to make sure we're encouraging that strong participation with the state government and RTD to make sure RTD has the ability to get the job done. And we need to work with the local and regional organizations to have these multimodal partnerships to make sure that we're using all of the resources, whether they're state, local, or county, to put those things in place for people to get around. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Representative Titone. And thank you to all of the representatives that we have tonight. It's always wonderful to hear from you. We are so fortunate to have such amazing and advocates and in our legislators. All right, I don't think we have anyone else that has jumped on. If we do, we can try to come back to those folks later. At this point, I would like to turn it over once again to my colleague, Rob DeHerrera with DDRC.
Fabulous. Thank you, Kiara. And I will be asking the county officials a number of questions here in a second. But before we do so, it seems like a good time for us to check in with the audience again with another poll question. And this one is specific to if, in fact, you know where to drop off your ballot. And while we're waiting for the results, just so everybody's aware, there's many drop-off locations that are at city halls across Jeffco, municipal recreation centers, and some libraries, and the Jeffco administration building as well. All this information is on the Jeffco Clerk and Recorder's website. And please note that October 25th is the last day to mail your ballot to get it in on time before Election Day on November 2nd. So once again, overwhelmingly, it looks like folks do know where to have that happen. Fabulous, thank you. All right, it's my pleasure to start with the county officials, and we will wait for the slide to get switched around. And the first question is for Commissioner Dahlkemper, and it's an employment question. Commissioner Dahlkemper, we know many people many people we have served want and need work. How will you help adjust the challenges they face and work with employers to help open the doors for them?
Rob, thanks so much. And hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you. First, a huge heartfelt thank you to Family Tree, DDRC, Jefferson Center, and Senior Resource Center for hosting tonight's virtual barbecue. I too wish we were all in person, but we're so grateful to you all for putting our community's safety first and foremost. The county's partnership with you, other nonprofits, chambers of commerce, businesses, and our education partners is absolutely critical to addressing this question about workforce development, as well as other issues we're talking about tonight. I regularly talk with businesses who are struggling because of the labor shortage. Our Jeffco Economic Task Force has been an integral part of coming forward with solutions. So has our Jeffco Business and Workforce Center, which works closely with businesses and employers who are actively seeking talent. They're open to training and equipping candidates with the tools and skills that they need to be successful on the job. We support employers through this process so that we can create as many opportunities as possible for residents with a wide variety of skills and assets. We can help with informational interviews, mentoring, job searches, as well as on-the-job training and permanent employment. Staff are available to assist people in person or virtually with all needs. We also have a wide array of virtual and in-person workshops that we offer, and those are free of charge to all Jeffco residents. If you're 16 or older, our team will help assess your personal goals and your life circumstances, and we can customize supports based on what you share with us. We also want you to know that we love to hear from you, and you can contact us at commish@jeffco.us, all 3 county commissioners, and we also invite you to join us on most Tuesdays at 8 a.m. for our public hearings. Thanks so much. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. The next question we have is for Commissioner Kerr. Commissioner Kerr, a health question. How will you help those with complex needs who have limited resources that make it challenging to connect to care will have access to appropriate and timely mental health and substance use services?
Great, thank you, Rob. And just to reiterate, as Lesley said, thank you to Senior Resource Center, Family Tree, Jefferson Center for Mental Health, and DDRC for hosting this yet again, and look forward to doing it in person. The other thing, I'm wondering why our clerk and recorder was the one who kept saying, I don't know, to all those voting questions, but I digress. So your health question. So as we all know, Jeffco has such a strong foundation of collaboration between the county, the municipalities, and the nonprofits. And so to just highlight some of the incredible work going on and the difficulty of getting everything done, wanted to point out the opioid settlement that was recently done, and Commissioner Dahlkemper did the heavy lifting for Jeffco on that. It is broken up into 19 regions, which will make some decisions. So Jeffco will be working with in Clear Creek County to decide how those funds are used, and this is all under the Attorney General's office. Also want to point out telehealth is so important right now as people are trying to socially distant, and also that ties into our need for broadband throughout our county, throughout our state. And we'll definitely be focusing on that. We're also working with our schools as much as possible to not just make sure our kids are healthy, but also learn about how to be healthy. And then, as many of you know, the co-responders that we support in Jeffco, many of the municipalities, we're looking to really bolster our co-responder situations, and then also housing navigators. And wow, 2 minutes goes fast, but all our work with the housing navigators, we're looking forward to a lot more to come on that front. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. All right, on to Commissioner Kraft-Tharpe. We have a housing question. And Commissioner Kraft-Tharpe, how would you use your office to address housing, specifically access to housing, including various types or arrangements, and affordability? I do believe the commissioner was with us earlier. We'll go ahead and come back to her.
Nope, I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm right
perfect.
here.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Hi, it's good to see everybody. Thanks so much. This is like the funnest event of the year, and I've always been thrilled to be able to join you every year. Usually I've been a candidate, whether it's for state legislature or now, but this year I'm not running. I'm the county commissioner out of, for some reason they said I'm on a black camera. Okay, well, you have to look at that picture right there on the screen. But before I jump into the housing question, I want to recognize Mary Bird, Kat Douglas, and Lene Flora, and if they could stand and wave to everybody. And as our housing experts with the Department of Human Services in the county. Our county and our local cities have worked very close together around the continuum of housing needs in our area, whether that's working with the homeless through, as Andy mentioned, homeless navigators or mental health responders, through our Heading Home committee, which brings together our nonprofits, our local communities, and our county staff, to looking at our new dream and venture, which is developing navigation centers, both in the north area and in the south area, to looking at what are the policies that we could be working on to make housing more affordable for everybody. This is a joint effort, and as Senator Zenzinger said, it's a complicated issue, but it's a joint effort. We're all coming together to put together something streamless to make sure everybody has the housing that they need. So special thank you to our staff, and special thank you to DDRC, Family Tree, the Mental Health Center, and the Senior Resource Center. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I apologize for my hastiness in the question. Next, we are going to welcome Jefferson County Clerk and Recorder George Stern, and we have a transportation question. How will you use your role to help bolster the funding for public transportation infrastructure, multimodal or other innovative approaches as the access is critical for those we serve?
Thank you, Rob, and thank you everyone, especially to all four organizations. So good to see so many familiar faces again and be back with all of you. For those I don't yet know, I'm George Stern. I'm the clerk and recorder here in Jeffco, and I'm really appreciative of all the voting centered questions that we've been having in our polls, because it's so important that we be talking about the fact that we've got important local elections coming up. As your clerk, I don't get to be on the front lines of being able to bolster funding for transportation as many of my friends in the legislature or on the commission do, but I do still get to have a big role in this issue and frankly in all of the issues we've been talking about tonight by empowering all of you, and that's through our office running elections. So the clerk and recorder's office oversees elections for every person you're hearing from tonight, and the best way that you can make sure your voice is heard on these issues, on transportation, on health, on everything else, is by holding them accountable, by voting, by participating. And we have been trying to make it even easier for you to do by expanding the accessibility of our elections. So certainly with registering to vote. As you saw, as Kara mentioned in the first poll question, we saw a lot of people figuring out how to be able to do that well now. But if you are one of the ones who said you're having any trouble, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to my office to make sure that we are making that as easy for you as possible. We've also more than doubled the number of drop boxes in Jefferson County to ensure that they're close to wherever people are. We make sure that they're all handicap accessible. We put them near public transportation when we're able to. And despite the fact that the vast majority of our voters use those, we've also continued adding more in-person vote centers where people who need additional assistance can come in and get that assistance and make sure that voting is easy for them. We're going to continue expanding that accessibility, and please let us know if there's anything we can do to help with it so that you can be empowered to speak up on all of these issues and to be able to have a voice on them. Thank you so much, everyone. Great to see you again.
Thank you so much. It's my understanding that Jefferson County Scott Kersgaard was not able to attend, so we'll welcome Jefferson County Coroner Annette Cannon, and we'll start with a health question. How will you help those with complex needs who have additional barriers or limited resources that make it challenging to connect to care will have access to appropriate and timely mental health and substance use services?
Gosh, I thought I was going to get an employment question. Well, good evening, Family Tree, DDRC, and Jefferson Center, and the Senior Resource Center. And thank you for inviting me. Again, it's kind of a random question for a coroner, but I can say that it's true that the health situations out there are very complex as it is, and just even in the hospital, patients have gotten more complex issues as we go, and the resources are becoming more and more limited, which makes it challenging to even connect the care to services or mental health services or substance use. So I was happy to hear that Jefferson Center has opened up a substance use service. I think that's very important. Also, to speak a little bit about the opioid crisis. Our office does a lot with this. We give a lot of the numbers that we report to the state on it, and we test our decedent for opioids. We go into a lot of homes that have this present, even among people who have not died, maybe even family members that are there suffering. So we encounter it almost every day. So I think just making sure that there are those appropriate services is very important. As far as mental health, I have worked on getting trauma services for our staff. So thank you very much for inviting me tonight.
Thank you very much. And it is my understanding that Jefferson County Assessor Scott Kersgaard is here. So we'd like to go ahead and have a housing question now. How would you use your office to address housing, specifically access to housing and affordability?
Okay, well, my office doesn't do a lot in terms of affordable housing. It's just not our job, but there are some things we have done. We used to value Habitat for Humanity houses at market value. But guess what? The owners of these houses can't sell them for market value. There are deed restrictions on these properties that limit how much appreciation they can get. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have a list of all of their addresses and what the deed restrictions are, and we value them at no more than the person can sell them for. So that does help create affordable housing. There was a big study at the University of Chicago earlier this year that was covered heavily by the New York Times, where they looked at property taxes across the country and said that they're very regressive, that often people with expensive homes pay less than people with less expensive homes. The more expensive homes are undervalued and the less expensive homes are perhaps overvalued. And they looked at every single county in the country. And they found that Jefferson County was in the top 10% for least regressivity. So we have much less of a problem in Jeffco than many other counties do in this regard. And we posted this study on our website. And one of my employees came to me and said, Scott, you know, could I look at this? Could I see if we can find any systemic issues here in Jeffco? And if we can find them, can we fix them? And I said, absolutely. And we don't have a report on that yet, but you know, I've opened that up to my staff to look into it and see if we can do even better than top 10%. So we will do what we can to, you know, help in this battle for affordability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, at this point, we'd like to go ahead and announce 2 more gift certificates for Dickey's Barbecue Pit here in Lakewood. And the winners are Patricia Leonard and Justice Brooks. I'd also like to thank the commissioners and Jefferson County elected officials. And at this point, I would actually like to turn it back over to Kiara, as I understand we have another representative in attendance. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rob. So I think we have Representative Larson with us. Thank you for being here. We have a housing question for you. How would you use your office to address housing, specifically access to housing and affordability?
Yes. Oh, hello, and I apologize. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. I apologize. I've been stacked up on events today, so it's been a little tough trying to manage the schedule. So thank you for having me. I'm so glad that this event is able to continue to go forward. Unfortunately, we won't be able to do it in person, but I guess this is better than nothing. But yes, thanks for having me. And yeah, to get back to the housing question, obviously my nexus for those of you that have attended previously for these questions tends to be through an IDD lens and senior lens for the most part. And, you know, let's be frank, our state is in a state of crisis when it comes to affordability. I think it's extraordinarily naive for anybody to claim that, you know, the housing situation in Colorado is anything short of a crisis. There's a total lack of entry-level homes. There's a total lack of homes for seniors, people with intellectual developmental disabilities who house out. And unfortunately, there's no single answer. Some of the things I've been exploring with some of my colleagues that I think will help around the edges, certainly is not a silver bullet, but things like creating incentives for a uniform statewide building code that would streamline and reduce costs for affordable housing. And then also, frankly, getting serious about prioritizing affordable housing. It's nice to hear some of my colleagues pay lip service, but to be frank with you, when they go and pass bills that add to the cost of a building permit, add to the cost of homeowners insurance, it's sort of a situation where they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. I'm all for prioritizing affordability, but we have to be realistic about what the costs of some of these additional pieces of legislation are and some of these additional requirements. So I think that the best thing we can do in the short term is look for some of these low-hanging fruits. I think a uniform housing code would be great. I think taking a look at some of the requirements around CHFA and low-income housing grants, making those more flexible. For instance, I've been involved in a low-income housing, or not low-income, my apologies, a housing project for intellectual and developmental disability adults in my district, actually located just outside of my district. And we're finding that a lot of the state level grants for these, you know, projects for, you know, specific housing are so income limited and come with so many strings that it's frankly just not a viable option to apply, even though it's housing for an IDD population that the state is otherwise happy to support. So I think looking at some of those strings that are attached and frankly making it more flexible, more responsive to discrete needs that, you know, IDD housing or senior housing may have are going to be excellent first steps. But there's so much work to do on housing. I fear that that's just going to be the first of many things that are going to be required. But that's something you might be seeing from me next session. And I'll definitely keep focusing on that going forward.
Thank you so much, Representative Larson. I'm glad you could make it. I know juggling is difficult these days. So we're glad you could jump in.
Indeed. Thank you.
All right, now I will pass it back to Chris Lynn to take us away.
Kara, thank you so much. So let's see here. We are going to be getting an opportunity to hear from the Jeffco School Board soon, and another drawing for another couple of barbecue gift cards. But for the moment, let's all take a couple of minutes to stand up and stretch, take a quick little break. So 2 minutes, and come right back, and so you don't miss anything. See you in 2 minutes. Thank you. Okay, that's how quick 2 minutes goes. So we're gonna come on back. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are going to have the opportunity now to hear from our school board candidates, and the candidates running in the same district will answer the same question. So for our first candidate, School District 3, was Stephanie Schooley, and unfortunately she had to leave, but she did provide written remarks. So we're going to ask Teresa Devine from Seniors Resource Center to please read those remarks from Stephanie Schooley.
From Stephanie, my apologies for missing my time slot. I've got parent/teacher conference this evening. We have some real inequities in access to technology and to reliable access to internet within Jeffco Public Schools. Some schools have had one-to-one programs, one device per student for many years, with the assistance of external PTA and other funding. Some schools are still sharing carts of school devices between multiple classrooms. I'd like to share 2 examples of how Jeffco Public Schools is addressing this inequity. First, through the vote in 2018, we were able to implement the Tech for Ed program, providing devices to students in 5th grade and again in 9th grade. This is an important step in the right direction. We know there is a great need for devices serving kindergarten through 4th grades, and those conversations continue among board members. Second, through a partnership with Comcast and Lockheed Martin, the Jeffco Schools Foundation provided low-cost and no-cost internet access to Jeffco families. The district is stronger through these partnerships, and it is critical that they continue to grow so that we can effectively serve all Jeffco students. Thank you, Stephanie Schooley, Secretary, District 3.
Teresa, thank you so much. And we also thank Stephanie Schooley for providing those remarks for us. And next we'll move on to Director District 1 candidate, Danielle Varda. And your question is a mental health question. Now, more than ever, with the impact that COVID has had on the well-being of individuals and families, or the myriad of social, economic, and equity issues, mental health is crucial. Beyond individual empathy, what should institutions be doing to help? And how do you see the school district's role?
Well, hi, I'm Danielle Varda. Thanks for having us tonight. I'm running for District 1 Jefferson County School Board. Returning to school this year has been an emotional experience, but watching kids reconnect with their friends and teachers tells me that getting kids back to school safely in person is the best thing we can do for their mental health and well-being. I believe that connection is a key determinant of our health and well-being, and agree that the last years have had profound impacts on our mental health of our kids, teachers, staff, and families. And while historically we know that racial and ethnic minority groups have experienced disparities in mental health, we have not even begun to understand the long-term impacts that COVID has had related to this disparity. One thing I am sure of, though, is that destigmatizing mental health is essential. And I appreciate that you all are asking this question tonight as a way to rise up this issue and bring it into the public discourse around our kids in schools. In Jeffco schools, we have great programs like Sources of Strength, our SEL curriculum and professionals, and partnerships with community organizations like all of these tonight. And I believe we can do more, and that indeed there is a role for schools in this solution. I especially support programs that implement partnerships with community organizations for place-based initiatives that bring resources into the schools to address the social and economic needs of families, like food, childcare, legal, and healthcare resources. Our research has shown that 80% of our health and mental health outcomes are determined by the zip code in which we are born. And that's why addressing these upstream factors and creating coordinated systems of care in place for families will positively impact the health and mental health outcomes for our kids and families. In my professional work, I am working with the Jefferson Center and Community First Foundation on this very issue in Jefferson County to use innovation and technology to bring new voice to the way we talk about these mental health issues so that providers can better know how to address them. This issue is going to take a lot of people and programs combined with commitment and innovation, and I look forward to being a part of that solution as a member of the Jefferson County School Board representing District 1. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, we will move to Director District 1 candidate, Jeff Wilhite. And your question is a mental health question. Same question. Now, more than ever, with the impact that COVID has had on the well-being of individuals and families, or the myriad of social, economic, and equity issues, mental health is crucial. Beyond individual empathy, what should institutions be doing to help, and how do you see the school district's role? Candidate Wilhite, are you here?
I'll start again. How about that?
There we go. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Wilhite, and I'm running for school board, the Jeffco School Board in District 1. This is a very good question for me because I started my career as a therapist at a community mental health center in Indiana. When I moved to Colorado, I was able to eventually start a business specializing in banking and construction lending, but mental health has always been important to me. For organizations, we can keep partnering to support each other. Tonight, a great example of that. I want to thank the groups that are hosting, and I want to thank those organizations for supporting their clients, their employees, and our community. The school district, we can continue to invest in prevention. Some of you know that the district has social emotional learning specialists working to create positive cultures in our schools. They support mental well-being. We can continue to deepen our partnerships like the ones that we have with Family Tree and Jefferson Center. We appreciate your support and will continue to strengthen those partnerships. And finally, we can make sure that we have the right level of intervention. Many of you know that individuals in crisis need support and they need it immediately. They can't wait. So the school board needs to be sure that we have right interventions available at the right time. I commit to being an advocate for supporting those interventions. Feeling safe is most important. Positive mental health. Our children's lives need to be predictable. They need routines, and they need to live in a world without crisis and chaos. Jefferson Heights, Board of Education candidate, District 1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to Paula Reed, Director, District 2 candidate. And your question is a digital question. Many of our constituents are caught in the digital divide, lacking tech skills, devices, or reliable internet. The school district has also been dealing with this issue. How do you see that the school district and nonprofits might collaborate to address this problem for all our constituents?
Sorry about that. At this point, I think one of the biggest tech skill problems that I see is the inability really to vet sources on the internet. And the more that we see disinformation spread by groups like Facebook, the more important this is. And so I think that that needs to be embedded in the curriculum of the schools. When I taught, I used to teach this, and the kids would say, oh, we got this last year, but really it needs to be taught over and over and over again because it has become so critical. In terms of actually having access to technology, Jefferson County does already provide Chromebooks to students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And so that's really a great start. Comcast and CenturyLink both have programs that allow families who qualify for government assistance to get internet access for like around $10 a month. And we need to make sure that families know about this and help them to get access if they don't know how to. Our federal legislators need to make the Federal Communications Commission Emergency Broadband Benefit Program permanent for families qualifying for other federal programs. That provides another $50 a month toward broadband service. And for families that have multiple people on devices, that's a really important thing to have. It's also $75 extra toward the service plan if they live on tribal lands. Sprint and T-Mobile have donated free mobile internet hotspots to our public libraries, and the libraries themselves have internet access for free. I would love to see Jeffco team up with cell providers to make these mobile hotspots accessible in school libraries. And really, I think it would also be fantastic if we could get volunteers to help us keep those school libraries open. Those libraries are super accessible to kids in neighborhoods. So if they can't get to internet access at home, they can go to their school. And usually that's within walking distance. So I would really like to see us work on that.
Great, thank you so much. All right, next is Teresa Shelton, Director, District 2 candidate. And your question is the same. Go right ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening. So just real quick to set the stage, 12 years ago when my son started middle school, he used our desktop computer 2 or 3 times a month to type. But now our daughters, who just started middle school a few months ago, they have one of those Chromebooks that they were issued in 5th grade, and they use it every single day. So we are in a really different place than we were just a very, very short time ago. And I think about it even in my own career, the way that technology has just truly transformed the way that I'm able to analyze data as a CPA. So as a school board member, the last thing I'd ever want to see is technology be a barrier to anybody in learning. So what can we do together? So collaboratively with these organizations. You know, one thought is partnering to host a community training session. This could be a multi-generational type event. So if you think maybe Seniors Resource Center partnering with the school district and hosting education sessions on various technology that would allow all members of families to learn together where we might have some of those gaps. I think another great possibility would be if we could host computers in sort of dedicated permanent kiosks in our schools for families to access remote services. For example, I know Jefferson Center, we have a great partnership in Jeffco with Jefferson Center. And it would be really wonderful if students and families could access video services from either that organization or from Family Tree or from DDRC, if those were actually in a dedicated location in our schools. Kiara talked about some of these locations throughout right now, but it would be great if we could expand that in the schools, which again, kids are generally really close in proximity to. And then I guess last but not least, of course, has been discussed, but the collaborative effort we can all make to make sure that people are aware of the access that they can get to high quality internet. So I'm Teresa Shelton. Thank you so much, running for District 2, and I would greatly appreciate your support and your vote.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. All right, next we have David Johnson, Director of District 2. And again, we're back to the mental health question. And so go right ahead, Candidate Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me join. I think the first thing I need to do is apologize for the view. I would rather be talking about the EMT and ER services because I broke my leg last night and spent the night in the ER. And so it was quite an interesting time. So I'm propped up here with this big cast and doing the best I can. So that's my disclaimer on the casual look. Not a random question. I have spent 22 years in mental health, running, operating, and owning substance abuse and mental health treatment centers. I took that experience and have served on the District Accountability Committee for the last 5 years, 3 years as budget chair. So the first thing we did was worked with the district and the board to allocate dollars for specific mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment. Social emotional learning specialists in every school, not sharing of schools. Those are specifically trained people to work with students on social and emotional needs. And they used to be in pods, they used to share school, they used to try to allocate them in different areas. The first thing I wanted to do was, or with the district, was to make sure that each school had those. Secondly, suicide prevention. Suicide prevention of every single Jeffco employee, not just specific teachers, not just different areas to roll that out. Every teacher in every building and every staff member. We had to do that because suicide is a massive problem for students in our district and the state of Colorado. And third, specific substance abuse teaching, substance abuse professionals. The mill levy had very specific language around this area and they needed to be specific. One of the things that the community resources could do is to be a resource to those schools. I think, to the question, I think schools, whether we like it or not, have to be resources to families in crisis. And providing community resources to those families is part of that responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I hope you feel better.
Thanks.
All right, next we have Mary Parker, Director for District 5. And your question is the same. Go right ahead, please.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you tonight. I feel that our schools often act as a triage for children and families who are struggling with all kinds of problems, even in quote unquote normal times. And now, due to COVID, our social workers, our psychologists, our social and emotional specialists and teachers, they're being called on as never before to be on the lookout for signs of distress. Recently, when I was speaking with members of the JESPA Association, the Jeffco Education Support Professionals, it was suggested that we train our support professionals like bus drivers and custodians and food workers on how to recognize children who may be at risk and train them on mental health first aid and how to report their concerns, because these staff members are often the ones that interact with the kids one-on-one, and they can greatly help increase our mental health support for kids and families. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to say that I've been a court-appointed special advocate for 14 years. And I've worked with Family Tree and Porch Light. And something that I'd like to mention is that in the area of therapeutic support for victims of child abuse, I wish we had better funding, because my kiddos usually start out with a therapist through victims' compensation. And when that runs out, they go through CPS funding or Medicaid, but that often means that they can't stay with the same therapist. They have to switch. And it's critical that these kids have continuity of care. We can't expect them to start over from square one and relive their trauma with someone new. So that's something that I'm happy to have this opportunity to bring up. And once again, it was wonderful to be a part of this great event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Okay, we have Kathy Mix, Director for District 5, and your question is the same as well. So please go ahead.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for that question, and thank you to our amazing hosts. The impact from COVID has taken a tremendous mental and emotional toll on people, especially our most vulnerable. I recently had a conversation with a school employee who said their discipline problems are 4 to 5 times what they were before COVID. After having been out of school so long, many kids are struggling with new routines and are anxious that they may have to go back to remote learning. We know that in-person learning is the best option for most kids, especially those with disabilities, those in abusive environments, or those facing hunger or homelessness. Some are saying our children are resilient, but there was just a piece in the Jeffco transcript written by a Jeffco teacher that said it is time for adults to admit our children are not okay. As adults, we must put our children first and make sure that all decisions are based on what is best for them. I know that every one of you listening does what you can to protect the children in your lives. My 3 kids are all grown up, and I still look out for them. The Jeffco board must do the same. We must be able to determine if a student needs a conversation with a counselor, a lesson from a social emotional specialist, a referral to a school psychologist or one of the community partners, or if there is an immediate crisis that needs urgent, higher level intervention. Jeffco spent millions of dollars a year on mental health, and we need to ensure these funds are being spent on the right resources for students. Also, I coached volleyball at Columbine High School for 10 years. As a coach, I know that engaging students in extracurricular activities also helps support good mental health. So I want to make sure that those opportunities are available to all students. Please visit my website, mixforjeffcostudents.com. I have the skills needed to significantly improve our schools for all students. I ask for your vote and for your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, well, thank you so much to all of our candidates for being here with us tonight, for our elected officials, incoming officials. It's just such a privilege to be with you all. And so thank you. All right, we have one more drawing for 2 Bennett's Barbecue gift cards. So let's see who our big winners are tonight. So the first one goes to Ashley Phillips, and the second to Jeslyn Sharzii. So thank you so much for participating and for being here. Congratulations, enjoy your barbecue. So again, this was a fantastic evening. We really look forward to being in person again someday soon. But thank you to all of my friends and colleagues at these other organizations. Huge amount of thanks and gratitude to all the folks who have been working behind the scenes to make this evening possible. There are a lot of logistics to go on, even for a virtual event, maybe even more so. But huge thanks to all of them for all of the work that they've done as well. So that wraps it up for us this evening. Looks like maybe I have a quick message. Nope, I think that's it. So thank you to everyone for being here this evening. Have a great rest of your evening. Good night.
Thank you.